I'd like to comment about the CRT issue.
Oh no, here comes the CRT.
One of the first movements back in the 70s, excuse me, where they basically tried similar things in schools. They called it busing. And they took the whites and bused them to black neighborhoods.
What the fuck does busing have to do with anything going on in schools today? He said he was going to talk about CRT, which isn't even happening in schools. He's lying about that, but he's not even talking about CRT.
Trying to basically integrate the two. It failed miserably. All that basically happened was the people that had means just basically moved out of the city. They left. They didn't want to deal with it. Because what it does is it creates tribalism. It doesn't integrate anybody. It basically, people of like-minded people, like color,
What?
they tend to gather together.
What?
There's nothing wrong with that.
What?
It doesn't mean they're racist.
We're not racist, we just don't want black people to be able to attend our schools. I don't know what you mean, guys. Listen, like-minded, like-colored people like to gather together. Don't you understand? You hear that, guys? We can't integrate students of different races together in the year 2022. It just doesn't work because of tribalism. I don't know if you know this guy, but kids of different backgrounds are going to school together right now. Did you know that, or did you not know that? He started by saying he wanted to talk about CRT, but now he's just talking about how it was a mistake to mix schools together. He's talking about desegregation. What decade is this? I feel like we are back in the fucking 70s. What's wrong with this guy?
I speak to a lot of people in North Kingstown. Again, I have a lot of patients, a lot of people I speak to, teachers and all. And I don't see an issue with racism.
Wow, he's a genius. I individually haven't met or seen anyone be racist, so that means there isn't an issue, because I haven't personally seen it.
We can really identify one part of our system that is racist.
Well, it's because you don't know what systemic racism is, because you are a psychologist, not a sociologist, dipshit.
We have people of like colors that like to be together. I think the focus
Jesus
should
Christ.
be on sports. And on
Sports?
education, and let people...
Why did he put sports before education?
But still, I think the CRT is something that really has to be, you have to step back and think about this more.
This guy knows he's at the town council, not the school committee, right? Does he know this?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo.
This is a video of Mary Brimer, her fiance James Gallo, and a lady running for Senator and General Assembly of District 35, Davisville area, Doreen Costa, outside a Pagoda Inn, a restaurant owned by Chinese people, during COVID. Let's see what we have here.
China! You're meeting China? No, you're eating China. You know anything of China?
What is going on? What is he doing? They're yelling like "fuck you, China" over and over. Yeah, clearly the owners of that Pagoda Inn are to blame for the COVID outbreak. You know what I think of China? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? This guy's a licensed psychiatrist? Bro, he needs to see a psychiatrist. This man is unhinged. What is happening in his head right now?
I am disappointed and upset that Town Council member Mary Brimer, for some reason videotaping me, tainted North Kingstown's back-to-school season.
I started losing it with Brett. She's fucking... I'm recording you too. I'm recording you too.
Council member Brimer's participation in spreading false tales of cat litter boxes in students' bathrooms was preposterous and dangerous. And then she went so far to request that people send her pictures from inside children's public school restrooms.
For proof of the litter boxes. Which was pretty fucked up.
Look up her LinkedIn profile. Her professional blog calls herself a self-diagnosed narcissist.
Imagine taking a dumb, fucking obvious joke line from someone's social media and using that to attack them on like a town council meeting.
Level of bullying and harassment that I have personally sustained from her directly has risen to the level that a fragile person would commit suicide.
First of all, you are a fragile person. That's why you're complaining. Second of all, this is the message that made her want to kill herself, by the way.
Shame on you, madam. Shame on you.
Let's leave it
No,
there.
no, I'm not done yet. No, I am not done yet because
listen,
excuse me.
No, excuse me.
We do not have the same level of privacy that an ordinary person does. When you're elected, you do not. So I want you to be known in this room for exactly who you are.
Mary,
you are
this
a
is
bully.
no
And the
violation of our rules, and you
agree. She names the company that the lady works for as an attempt to get people to harass her at the company, and then she went to that company and talked to her boss to try to bully her out of her job. So she doesn't care about privacy.
Violation of rules, no personal insults.
Really?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? She can insult her? Are you kidding me?
You're out of order. You're out of order, ma'am. You're out of order, ma'am. Listen, ma'am. Ma'am.
This was the harassment. So, and there's an email too. Hi, Mary, it's me. Is this the correct number to send cat litter pictures? Thanks. Please. And then she sends her my video. Please watch, then resign. Thanks. I'm sharing this video on a national level. Get ready for your close-up. Not exactly the level of harassment that Mary Brimer is trying to paint it as. And I'm going to be honest, if this is enough for you to cry about how a fragile person would want to commit suicide, if that's how fragile you are that you think this is harassment as a public official fielding criticism, you don't belong in public power, you don't belong in politics at all, you're just way too sensitive to be dealing with public town policy in a serious way. Her using the serious issues that suicidality, the issues that suicidal people go through to turn herself into the victim and deflect valid criticism of her behavior. This is disgusting behavior for someone who is elected to public power. It's cynical, it's manipulative, and it's not acceptable. You're not just a crybaby, you're a cry bully. You are someone who starts a fight, starts a drama around an imaginary issue around litter boxes. You call your opponents Marxists who hate white people, which is what she did to that Jennifer Lima lady that she tried to actually bully off of the school committee. And remember, she actually did succeed in harassing one school committee member to the point where he actually resigned from his position. You start all this drama, you start all these fights, you pick all these fights with all these people, and turn your opponents into monsters who want children to unsanitarily use litter boxes. And now, when people send you this message saying, resign, bro, you're embarrassing, that's enough for you to want to kill yourself? Sounds like someone who can dish it out but can't take it. Also, she doesn't actually feel so bad that she wants to kill herself. She's just playing it up for sympathy points, which is why she brings up in this response the girl's private job, which is why she is at the moment, as I speak, requesting meetings and getting meetings with this woman's boss at her private company where she works in an attempt to convince them to fire her. And the people who support her, a couple of the girls who are sitting in front of me, they're involved in it too, trying to get the lady fired because she criticized the councilwoman. Yeah, we're clearly working with the best of the brightest here.
I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Greg Mancini. Now that the season of election season is coming up, I want everybody to realize how successful he has been. He has, close to 900 votes now that he's been able to control two women next to him. And it's amazing to me. I want to know your tricks, Greg. I've been trying to do that at home. I can't do it. It's just amazing to me. And
what? It's amazing how you control women so well, Greg. I want to know. A psychologist congratulating the guy who runs the town council on controlling the women around him, by the way.
Ladies of North Kingstown are all aware of this now. And I think the ladies next to you should really be embarrassed to know that in order to have that many votes in succession, you could have hit the lottery. It's just amazing. I don't know how you did it.
Oh my God, it's almost as if they're all Democrats and they have the majority, so they can vote on whatever you want and you idiots can't stop them. Wow, imagine that. This sounds like the kind of guy that I want to elect to public office. I can't wait to hear him call out women on the school committee and accuse them of being controlled by the men. That sounds like it will be really fun. Let's put this guy in charge of something for 2 years.
But you did it, Greg. I'd like to congratulate you. And the two ladies to your right need to be hanging their head in shame. Kim Page, you're always on the same page, no pun intended.
Good one.
I'm not even going to mention somebody else, but...
Who's the coward now? You don't want to mention her name? Bro, get it out of your fucking lips. Speak with your whole voice, dipshit. That's it? That's all you said? That was boring as fuck. I was expecting him to talk about busing and black people. I'm disappointed, dude. I was waiting to hear the soliloquy about how white students and black students can't integrate together.
There's a lot of rallies around an upcoming decision or debate in the U.S. Supreme Court. There's been a couple of these rallies, and certainly people have the right to do it. It's their First Amendment right, but Town Beach, I don't know. I think maybe, Ralph, maybe we can develop some sort of policy. Is that something that...
The town or any state or municipality cannot deny permits to people because the subject of the gathering is going to be controversial or unpopular.
Right, that makes
sense. That selective enforcement cannot be done.
I don't think you could get a more politically charged rally that could be met with opposition, and the police need to be prepared for that. And given that this was presumptively approved based on her behavior, I'm a no on this.
On her behavior.
Well, that's fine, but let me ask you, let's ask the town manager and town solicitor, what obligation does the applicant have to provide
What behavior?
detail as
Saying mean things about Mary?
Captain Barry reached out to Nancy Raffi and advised her that a detail would be required. And my understanding is that she has said okay.
So let me ask the council this. Doesn't it make sense that a rally of this nature would be held up at the State House or up in front of Planned Parenthood?
Not in my town. Not in my town. You're not allowed to do this in my town. No, it doesn't make sense, Mary. They want to do it here.
In a tightly knit little neighborhood that people have to travel in and out to get through.
I can tell you that you raised, for me anyways, I think you raised a legitimate issue, but the problem is that
we have no legal grounds to say they can't.
As Matt indicated, that we can't do it because of it's unpopular. If we had policies in place relative to issues like this, I think we would have a better shot of regulating it. My concern, though, and I don't mean to move away from yours, but I do want to make this point. Is
the thing that's so sad is that despite all of the nasty shit that Brimer and her fiance James Gallo have said about this Greg Mancini guy, he continues to be viciously and unwaveringly polite to her. This man is a fucking saint. I do not envy this poor man's position, and yet he still refuses to be anything but polite to this complete fucking jackass. Or her soon-to-be husband, who accused him of controlling the women around him, and despite this, after every time he speaks, Mancini, as the chair, says, "Thank you, James Gallo." Talk about your moral character. This man's level of patience is staggering.
This is not one I agree with, so.
Going forward, perhaps we should discuss an ordinance that, applicants are not advertising before approval. I'm a little taken aback at how aggressive this is on a national website.
Aggressive.
Mary, I will certainly take a look at it in good faith, and any recommendations maybe town manager solicitor has to try to ensure that these are smooth events.
Does anyone on the council have any item they want to pull from items 11 to 23?
21 and 22, please.
Okay, Ms. Brimer, I hope we can take items 21 and 22 together.
If we could take them together, I have a conscientious objection to this, and I'm going to abstain from voting on it, so I'll step away from the table.
Mr. McKay, do you have any further comment?
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not in favor of this, and so I'm going to step away from the table as well.
Okay.
Sorry. So we're merely approving here somebody's free First Amendment right to free speech, to be able to gather and to be able to voice their opinion, and to, as the fact that is an exhibit license, that they're going to be giving information out to folks. And I think, if anything, that's what democracy is all about. That's what we heard here at the last time, was we had many people who came forward to the mic, and they spoke, and they voiced, they sent us letters and that sort of thing. And so, of course, I would support Tank in, again, making sure that they give out information and are able to exercise their First Amendment rights as well.
I think it's a good opportunity for us as a community to learn from people in our community who might be doing things that maybe we agree with, maybe we don't, but perhaps for those of us who take issue, I would encourage us to really check it out and see what they're doing. I took my daughter to one of their events. It was a dance lesson, and it was truly a family-friendly, enjoyable event. I can't say we were very good at dancing, but we enjoyed it nonetheless.
No.
But that aside, certainly this is a free speech issue. I agree fully with Kim.
By the way, this is how much Kerry McKay and Mary Brimer actually care about the First Amendment. If you're keeping track, the First Amendment right to have your dog shit in the park and not clean up after it, that somehow, I guess, is important and relevant. But when it's an anti-racist organization just trying to assemble in a public town and give out information about themselves, that's bad. You can't allow that. You gotta stamp that out. So that's their conscientious objection. Oh my god, he's a trooper! He's back! Did he upgrade his words per minute to 6? He might actually get his speech into 3 minutes this time.
Obviously, you have a big problem here.
You do every day, James. We're here for you.
As far as, putting this kind of material out and causing such a separation and a problem within our community, that in itself is a problem. So,
acknowledging the existence of non-binary people is divisive, by the way. In order to not be divisive, we have to not acknowledge that group of students and their existence. That's the problem here.
I don't know if you're aware, I'm a board-certified psychiatrist, and I definitely need a psychiatrist.
You were aware.
I can't believe that you would think that this would be appropriate for children. I really don't. I'm stunned. I mean, it's pornographic material that really depicts sexual acts. It's clear that...
By the way, in the entire graphic novel he's referring to, there is one scene that's like sexual at all, and it's not, you don't see private parts. You can find more sexual shit in Catcher in the Rye, and we're talking about high school, by the way.
We're talking about K through 12 here.
The fucking book, the book wasn't in the fucking kindergarten schools, you idiot. It was in the high school. That's why people are mad. You know you're in the high school right now as we speak, right? That's where the book was. Fucking teenagers, dog.
Well, you might as well put Playboy or Hustler in the libraries as well, because...
What?
Committee members publicly push for abortion rights is also something that I find offensive.
Are you serious? We're at a school committee meeting. How are you managing to turn this into your fucking soliloquy on your position on abortion? Your opinion on abortion has nothing to do with the fucking school committee. You're literally just attacking a school committee member for an unrelated political position that they have. Go fuck yourself.
Is the Recs Department willing to strike the language in Section B, all of it, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4?
That's up to the council to decide whether or not it wants firearms to be permitted in playgrounds.
Well, the problem is there's a number of residents here that that have legitimate concealed carry permits, and this potentially puts them in jeopardy with the police when they're doing law-abiding things like fishing and filleting a fish, or even a simple matter like having a...
People are fishing at the playground? People are in jeopardy because they can't bring a gun to the playground? What are we talking about right now?
Birthday party for a child in a park and having a knife to cut a birthday cake that's more than 3 inches.
I'm pretty sure the limitation against knives that are over 3 inches is for concealed knives, not for just carrying around a knife for a birthday cake. But feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about that.
This is in direct conflict with the law, with RIGL 114758, firearms, state preemption, the control of firearms, ammunition, or their component parts regarding their ownership, possession, transportation, carrying, transfer, sale, purchase, purchase delay, licensing, registration, and taxation shall rest solely with the state, except as otherwise provided in this chapter. We cannot preempt state law. I think it was a well-intended ordinance, but it got into a different lane.
Well, there's another provision of state law which somewhat conflicts with that provision, and as we've noted in the staff reports, a large number, if not most, communities in Rhode Island have language in their ordinance which prohibit firearms in playgrounds and park areas.
It is state law. It's not in conflict with state law. State law also says you can't bring a gun to a fucking playground.
The state of Rhode Island prohibits firearms in their playgrounds, parks, and camping areas as well. So it's not uncommon for this type of language with respect to firearms. I'm not referring to knives, but respect to firearms, that they're not permitted in playgrounds with young children in the area.
I think that we are getting in the lane of the state, and just because other municipalities might have it in their language doesn't mean that it was an oversight or that it wouldn't be challenged in court. And I've already been informed by a few residents in town that if this is passed tonight, they will seek to file an injunction, and this will result in a lawsuit.
Well, that's up to the council to determine whether or not it wants to include this language. As I say, it's pretty common language in most ordinances throughout the state. If this council does not want to, or wants to allow firearms in playgrounds, of course, the council can strike this language.
I think it needs to be very clear. This council wants to allow law-abiding citizens who have earned their concealed carry permit
To not bring those concealed carry weapons to a fucking playground? Yes, that is exactly what they're saying. They shouldn't do that. What legitimate reason would they ever have to do that? Can you talk us through this?
who are authorized to carry weapons that they are allowed to. There's a difference between illegally.
We're not talking about being authorized to carry a weapon. We're talking about being authorized to carry it to stupid fucking places that you should never ever take them, like a playground where little children play.
Legally carrying, and this ordinance is going to jeopardize people that are law-abiding.
By the way, when she says jeopardize people who are law-abiding, what she actually means is get them in trouble with the police if they bring a fucking gun to a playground, which is what should happen, in case you didn't know. She's using the most emotionally charged, stupid language she possibly can to make her case, and it's really obnoxious, and I hate it.
Even law-abiding citizens not allowed to carry weapons in state parks and playgrounds or camping.
True!
About town parks here in this ordinance.
I understand.
What you said is still true.
May I ask a question?
Oh my God.
Was this ordinance even why are we enacting this ordinance? Why now?
Ordinance has not been amended in a number of years, and that it should be brought up to date. That's my understanding. Again, I was not involved in this.
That is exactly what it is. Looked at this ordinance in a very long time. So it's been on my agenda for about a year to get this before you again and clean up the ordinance and add some things to it that were long overdue.
Chelsea then said, if we're going to do this one section, let me look at other cities and towns. Let's see what their ordinances look like, and let's clean ours up because it's been a long time, as Chelsea said. So please know that it wasn't this section that drove the redraft of this ordinance. It was another issue which we're trying to fix. And then as a result, Chelsea felt it was long overdue to redo the entire ordinance because it's so old.
On top of everything that's been shoved down our throats in the last 2 years.
Oh my God, give it a rest.
Okay.
Give it a rest. It's too much intervention to not let people carry weapons to a children's playground.
Broken, at least not that we do.
Give me a rest, dude. Give me a break.
I'm not quite sure I totally agree right now. I maybe revisit in a few years. I don't care when I'm off the council. But I can't vote for this tonight. And honestly, it's just more.
He just says it.
Every time you turn around, there's another new thing coming up. We have an ordinance, and this is another one of those things that feels a lot like, if you come to our parks and playgrounds, you will follow these. You will abide by these following rules.
Well,
God
I agree
forbid.
that none of us are here every day trying to think up ways to how the government should get into our lives. That can be very frustrating, very challenging, and surely not something I want to oversee. At the same time, there are times when we have no choice to. So for example, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but when we get call after call after call of a resident trying to enjoy Ryan Park and they're ducking golf balls, we have to put some saying no golfing in Ryan Park. When we get a phone call from somebody at Wilson Park saying the $500,000 you just spent on the field is being destroyed because people are walking their pets there and regretfully they're not cleaning up after them, we have to address that.
Don't we already have an ordinance about pets and parks?
The ordinance that we currently have are that they have to be leashed. So there's nothing saying that they can't bring them out to use the bathroom and not clean up after them.
But they also, isn't there also something in the ordinance that says you have to clean up after your own dogs?
I believe there is, but the problem is they're not. I mean, they can certainly walk on the track. The bigger problem is the fields and the playgrounds.
I get it. I just think that it was duplicitous because we already had some of these rules and regs in place, and this just looked like another situation where, why don't we just enforce the laws that we already have, and we wouldn't need any of the new things that have been added into this ordinance that call into question Second and First Amendment and things like that.
First Amendment, wait, the First Amendment right to shit in the park, or the First Amendment right to well, how is the First Amendment relevant to this again? I missed that one.
You've done such a wonderful job, but there are overzealous people who will take this ordinance much further than what you're intending its purposes to be, by sending people out to monitor, to give summons, give tickets, do things like that. That's something.
So wait, isn't that enforcing the rules that are already on the books? Isn't that what you said you want people to do? Like, I understand you don't want fucking townspeople being the vigilante, like, wannabe cops, but, like, didn't you say you want the rules to be enforced? Which one is it?
I just have a couple comments. I certainly want to respect gun owners' rights, but I don't think, in light of the fact that this is these type of restrictions are common in most other municipalities, and the fact that there are areas where you can't carry a gun, and the fact that we think we have a legal opinion saying that there's not a preemption. I would be for this, but I don't know if the votes are there for it.
I believe this is sound. However, there's a certain amount of hypocrisy that goes into all of this.
Oh my God. Here we go again.
Here we are in 2022 appointing judges, liberal judges.
What?
Federal courts, letting criminals out of jail every single day in droves. We have an administration, which you supported, that's allowing hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants.
What the fuck?
Across our borders.
What does this have to? Does this man? Is the dementia setting in early? Does he know he's on the town council? You know where you are, dog? Do you think you're in fucking Congress right now? How is this related to the fucking town gun legislation bill that's in front of you right now?
Who are bringing drugs, abuse to women, sexual slavery, and then
she's nodding along. Oh, yes. All fucking immigrants are drug dealers and, sexual enslavers. Yes, this is true.
Through the past 2.5 years, you supported the burning of our cities, the looting of businesses.
Bro, most Democrats didn't support that. And also, he's on the town council. Is this the game you want to play? Do you want to play it where, like, these three guys attack you guys by bringing up random stuff that Trump did, and you bring up stuff that you think Biden did, and you just fight about, like, your disagreement over national politics? Is this what you think the town council is supposed to be, you lunatic?
The destruction of property and murder and death and mayhem. And here,
I don't know if you know this. There were BLM protests in North Kingstown, and nothing happened in them, and they were peaceful. That was 90% of the fucking protests. There were some riots, and everyone was against them, including Democrats. There were some crazy fucking progressive people on Twitter who weren't against them, and they are wrong, and that's it.
Here we are. We're going to take, at some point, this whole conversation now goes back to, let's get the guns. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that an AR-15 needs to be in anybody's hands. But the way this administration in Washington has walked the path, they've made a...
You're not in Washington! Someone needs to put an ankle bracelet on this guy in case he gets lost and they need to find him because he has no idea where he is. You're in North Kingstown, Rhode Island, my friend, my brother in Christ. You are on a town council. Town. Is Biden in the room with us right now? This is literally Biden derangement syndrome.
A lot of you believers that this is a great idea, that it's okay to pass these resolutions to get a lot of people fired up about this, which I don't blame them. You know, they should be fired up about this.
I blame them.
And I agree, kids are scared to death. But what's the bigger play here is what I'm concerning myself with. And certainly, this is an administration that's controlled the media, the content of the media, everything that's said, published.
Who do you think's controlling the media? I would love to hear him explain exactly who he thinks is controlling the media.
$400 million was spent by the head of Facebook in the election process. And now we're being asked to take gun rights away from honest, law-abiding citizens.
If they're law-abiding, they'll pass all the background checks and all those fucking hoops. So no law-abiding people, by definition, will have their guns taken away. If you fail a background check, you're not law-abiding.
By the same token, we're putting illegals and criminals back into society.
I don't know how he's managed to make this about illegal immigration nationally in the United States. Bro, do you understand how north of the border you are? If you were any more north of the border, you would live in fucking Maine. Why are you worried about illegal immigrants? Do you just hate brown people? Is that it? You don't live in Texas, my dude. You live in Rhode Island. Why are you ranting about immigration? It's not even a dog whistle at this point. He's just howling to the moon.
So I think there's a certain amount of hypocrisy to this piece of legislation.
Yes, it's so hypocritical to pass gun control legislation, but also be supportive of federal administrations who allow immigrants into the U.S. What is the bit of a twisted root of that comparison, isn't it?
And I'm not sure I can support it.
Fucking Greg has no fucking idea how to even respond to the fucking garbled fucking alphabet soup that's spewed from this guy's mouth. He has no idea what to say.
This year, there will be more than 300 health awareness campaigns worldwide. Recognizing the month of June for gun violence awareness is great, but what happens in July? To create awareness, it's important to understand the ineffective and even harmful effects awareness can have. When done wrong, an awareness campaign carries 4 specific risks.
Okay.
It might lead to no action.
What?
It might reach the wrong audience.
What's more likely to lead to non-action? Awareness or non-awareness? Which of those 2 things do you think is more likely to lead to non-action? Very. What is this fake concern troll non-argument?
It might reach the wrong audience. It might create harm.
What is reaching the wrong audience? What harm do you think is going to be created from gun awareness? What's the wrong audience in regards to a gun safety awareness month? What would that wrong audience be? And what would the harm be?
And it could generate a backlash.
Oh, yeah, like backlash from you people, right?
One of the most important tasks in crafting an awareness campaign is to identify your target audience. The individuals or groups whose action or behavior change will be most important to helping you achieve your goal.
Okay.
I can think of several ways our community could team up with law enforcement, Department of Corrections, and Health and Human Services to speak to a target audience, specifically our teens, about their personal risk factors for gun violence and the consequences for various outcomes.
That's fine.
For example, teenage girls need to fully understand the responsibility they play in gun violence when it comes to purchasing guns for their boyfriends. A field trip in a marshal's transport bus to visit inmates at the ACI to speak with females convicted of this act would be quite effective.
Sure.
Speaking with family members of victims is also quite effective. In the absence of providing a campaign strategy for the actual raising of awareness in partnership with community resources to a target audience, this proclamation feels good, but it accomplishes absolutely nothing. It serves to virtue signal for a PAC that several members of this council happen to serve. It contributes to the polarization of the Second Amendment at a time where legislation is pending a vote in less than 24 hours in the Rhode Island General Assembly that, in my opinion, violates the constitutional rights afforded its citizens of the state of Rhode Island. Councilor Anderson is a member of Moms Demand Action. I believe you even lobby for them, Greg.
No, I don't.
No, you don't? Okay. My mistake.
Not a problem.
A number
Not a problem, he says.
received has been
Man, again, the undying patience of this guy.
my mistake.
Not a problem.
I apologize. A number of
Don't worry about
emails
it.
received.
He's laughing. Don't worry about apologizing, dog. She's smiling. Oh man, I do not ever want to run for local office. I'll just keep making fucking videos, man. I'm good. I don't want to ever be in this guy's seat dealing with these problems. I'm all set with that. I'd prefer to experience all this from the outside. Thank you very much.
Ironically, awareness turns into virtue signaling when the activist resorts to shaming and outrage for another not agreeing with them. Proclamations don't solve problems.
Shaming and outrage. Gee, what does Mary Brimer have to do with shaming and outrage? Why is that ringing a bell for me? It's kind of rich coming from the lady who made a lot of outrage pouring around fucking, LGBT students and alleged litterboxes. It's a little rich coming from this lady, right? She literally did a campaign against a school committee lady calling her a Marxist who's pushing CRT in schools. And she has, the balls to talk about outrage and shaming. Fuck you, dude.
I too have awareness fatigue, and I am tired of the polarization of every single issue in our lives. I believe violence of any kind deserves awareness. I choose not to isolate guns as the socially triggering factor in all violence.
Triggering!
Violence occurs with many objects and with hands and feet. It occurs by women on men more than men on women. Violence goes unreported, as is extremely well documented with publications in Judge McGuirl's use at our high school. Regretfully, I'm unable to support this proclamation, not because I don't believe gun violence deserves awareness, but I question the motives of where this agenda item originated. Issuing a proclamation without a...
Dog, either you support gun safety or you don't. Whether or not you don't like other people's motivations is completely irrelevant. You literally said in this speech that you think other relevant legislation on the state level that is being passed that you think violates the Constitution. You then can't pretend, oh, I care about gun safety, but I don't like the motivations behind this. Blah, 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 blah. No, bullshit.
This is not worth the paper it's printed on and is nothing more than political theater for which I refuse to participate in.
Political theater? You went on all the radio shows talking about litter boxes. How do you get off talking about political theater? Who do you think you are? Political theater?
My family, we own 2 guns in our family, and we've taken safety courses. I've lived in England for 3 years, and the things that they did for their children in their schools was much more effective in making sure that they didn't have any gun violence after the Dublin incident up in Scotland. We sit here and we watch people being killed by gun violence that is needless and senseless. We can't come to agreement on anything but a simple proclamation. That's all we're asking to say, that we don't want any more violence in North Kingstown, and we can't even come together for that. I'm just like, oh my gosh, why can we not just have a proclamation where we say, we want this to end, we don't want this to go on anymore? It just drives me crazy that we have to make this so political that you just can't say, you're right, I own a gun, but I don't want any more violence. I don't want this to happen again, but we have to sit here and argue about it. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, this lady has the best responses to everything that Brimer says. This lady is a gem. I don't even remember her name even now. Kimberly Ann Page. I will be very, very fucking depressed if this lady loses her seat and Mary keeps it. I don't know what that would do to my mind. I don't want a gun awareness month because I just think it's too virtual signaling. I mean, I support it in principle, but I just don't like the motivation. Bullshit. Shut up. Shut up. You're so obnoxious.
Thank you. Okay.
England and Islamic night.
Ma'am, why don't you be quiet?
But what about all the Muslims? What about all their violence? Oh my god, she actually did that? I am fucking dying inside. Oh no. Yes, very serious and relevant point. Thank you.
England and Islamic night.
Ma'am, why don't you be quiet? So, anyways, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been so abrupt.
Oh, he's apologizing? This man, he is 100% in his right to be annoyed with the person interrupting his meeting, and he apologizes to her. This guy is too nice for his own good.
I have been loath to weigh in on issues that do not affect our town, but unfortunately, I think this is so random that it could affect our town, so I feel obligated to do so. You know, I respect your both points of view. I disagree with you. I think we've had a decent council, but
This lady falsely accused him of lobbying for a PAC, blah, 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 which in and of itself wouldn't even be like a sin against his character, by the way. Tried to paint his motivations and his character in a negative light. And fucking and he still goes on to say, I respect your point of view, or respect his point of view. By the way, this is the guy that all the fucking crazy people on those Facebook groups accuse me of, like, being secretly bussed in for and paid for to, like, show for. Because he's this horrible, like, anti-Mary person. And he's so nice to her. All the time. He is so nice. And this is the guy they hate the most. They hate this guy. Why?
A short and explosive meeting of the North Kingstown School Committee after people in the audience shouted down members and refused to follow the school's mask policy. That meeting then shut down early, and the police called in to clear the crowd.
The CDC does not know about this virus. I know more than the CDC.
We've asked a couple people to leave who wouldn't wear a mask, and at this point we do have 2 people in the room who are not wearing masks. So again, as we mentioned before, we won't be able to continue the meeting until people are complying with the mandate issued by the governor regarding the wearing of masks in school.
Gregory Blasbog, chairman of the school committee, calling it a chaotic and potentially dangerous atmosphere, saying people in attendance loudly spoke over speakers, threw objects, and took over the microphone without being recognized.
What about the American Disabilities Act? Medical exemption.
There's not enough money in the world you could pay me, my dude.
After several attempts, the chairman called an
Good
end
one.
to the meeting, saying in a statement to ABC 6 News, the members of the school committee felt that it was not safe for the meeting to continue, so he voted to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
What is the name of your
in favor?
attorney so that we
Good night.
can
Thank you.
prosecute? Police were called in to clear the crowd. The U.S. Attorney General recently sending out a memo warning of a disturbing spike in harassment, intimidation, and threats of violence against school administrators, board members, teachers, and staff.
Doreen Costa, well.
Never seen anything like this in all my years here.
Now, the meeting just started, right? And there were a number of things on the docket, and they just ended it just like that and walked off.
Right. They ended it because, number one, they said someone wasn't wearing a mask. She had 2 medical exemption forms. So they said, no, she still couldn't go. So she ended up yelling at them. You can yell all you want. It's a free country from what I still remember. So, but she had doctor's notes. And then we had other people yelling, stop the CRT, where, this is not right. And, all us domestic terrorists is what they call us now.
Domestic. Doreen, it's stochastic terrorist. If you're going to complain about the term, can you at least, learn how to say it?
And I think it's incredibly disgraceful what they just did.
Tell us exactly, I don't understand exactly what happened, how we was...
The guy with the raccoon hat. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be serious.
Supposed to have this meeting, and then all of a sudden they just adjourned and walked off.
They're cowards. They knew they were outnumbered for supporters tonight, and they're cowards.
Well, hey, if you could have really showed them if you wore your fucking masks, and they wouldn't have an excuse to end the meeting. Wouldn't that have showed them? And you could overwhelm them with all the support you had if you just were not stupid enough to go without wearing masks and give them an out. Wow, how stupid must you feel?
They called it. If I had drafted the declaration of intent to recall Jen Lima, it would simply read for premeditated discrimination in the selection of DEI applicants on the basis of skin color, sexual orientation, and voter affiliation.
They discriminated against people applying for DEI because they didn't accept white people. How could they? That's what I would recall Jen Lima for. What the fuck is wrong with you?
And while those who supported this recall came close, they fell short of the 3,102 votes required, or signatures required. And I've decided not to burden the clerk's office with verifying the signatures that did come in, and to protect the identities of those brave enough to sign and keep their names private and off record. Voter intimidation is no longer looking like menacing men at polling locations. Today it looks like miserable, mostly middle-aged women with nothing to lose, spewing hatred behind their screens on social media.
Shame on you, madam. Shame on you. Let's leave it there. No, I'm not done yet. No, I am not done yet.
Violation of our rules, and it's a violation of rules, no personal insults.
Like, for fuck's sake, this ages so poorly when a year later you fast forward and she's literally trying to get a private citizen who's criticizing her fired from her private job. What is wrong with you? How could the hypocrisy be any deeper? Also here, calling out that same individual, not so subtly, as a miserable middle-aged woman. I mean, dog, I'm pretty sure you're kind of middle-aged too. How do you get off using that as an insult? Is it okay to use that against you? I don't think so. This person's just wild. I don't understand.
My understanding is that in the high school and in Davisville Middle School, there is a student in each one that is being accommodated with a litter box because they identify as a cat.
I went to text the number she had put out there for people to send her proof of the litter boxes. She never asked me to confirm or to verify that I was a middle school student or the parent of a middle school student. I offered to send her pictures of the litter boxes. Before I even do, she's already sending me her walk back of how, oh, the litter boxes were fucking bullshit, but hey, people are still identifying as cats. We gotta really worry about that. And it's like, okay, so you know the story is bullshit. You just wanted attention. She knows she's lying. She knows she's making it up. This same fucking story has played out in other states like Iowa and fucking Michigan. Like, this is fucking months old. Like, literally for over half a year in different states. Everyone's been making up stories about fucking litter boxes and people identifying as cats to take cheap swipes at fucking gender identity shit. It's so fucking boring and lazy and stupid and disgusting. This is how seriously she takes her job. Like, this is what she spends her time doing. The money that she gets paid to do her job, this is how she's squandering it. By talking about fucking cat people.
I saw in back to school posts comments about this litter box issue.
This whole gender thing is about this identity, using your pronouns, this and that. This identity, using your pronouns, this and that. So the creativity has now extended to identify. So
okay, so from now on, anyone who says, oh, she's not talking about trans people, she's not talking about trans people, she's talking about this weird thing people are doing, identifying as cats. She's not doing that. It is about trans people. She is spreading these false rumors in order to attack the idea of identifying as XYZ. She is trying to make a false slippery slope argument that's going to lead to people identifying as cats. So anyone who from now on says, oh, she's not attacking trans people, can just shut the fuck up, because she's doing that.
And this has created quite a bunch of drama here in North Kingstown. But again, to separate the feeling from it, let's look at the fact.
Who caused the drama? Who caused the drama? Hey, asshole. Diss you? Diss you?
Identify as cats and behave like that, and they are supposed to be treated and respected as if. I know that students are being encouraged to utilize pronouns.
What does that have to do with cats? See, she keeps crying that people are attacking her for, like, doing this to stir hatred against trans people. But literally, she can't stop talking about pronouns. She starts talking about, oh, the cats, the litter boxes, the cat ear. People are being encouraged to use pronouns. Where the fuck did that come from? I thought you said it wasn't about that, but apparently it is.
James Gallo?
Oh, no, not this guy again. No.
I'm a first-generation Italian-American.
He likes to say that a lot, by the way.
Right on the job advertisements, it would say, Italians need not apply.
Thank you. We all know the history lesson.
This didn't stop my father or my uncles. Okay? They were grateful to be in America.
Wait.
And they worked.
It never stopped them, but you don't think that was a problem that happened, or what are you suggesting exactly?
Hard.
Guys, if you work hard, it doesn't matter if there are signs outside of businesses saying that people of your race need not apply.
They served in World War II. They started their own businesses. My secretary, African American, 16 years with me.
Where is this
Has
going?
4 children, 4 different fathers. From the hood. She introduces me to her cousins and friends, and she says, he's from the hood. Her children refer to me as grandfather.
Where is she going with this?
Grandpa, excuse me. I look at that as a term of endearment, but I don't really appreciate the grandpa part.
Okay. What's the story? My secretary's from the hood. Her children call me grandpa. You can't say I'm racist. Like, where is he going with this? I don't actually know why he's bringing this up. I guess we're not getting any closure on the purpose of the secretary story. I have no idea what that was
The race
about.
riots of the 70s put an end to that. And my father feared for his family, and he moved us out to Coventry. Busing was the issue then. Busing failed miserably, a national initiative experiment that accomplished nothing but creating racial tension and division.
He really fucking hates the busing thing. He talks about this a lot.
Their children to private schools, and the families, or they moved to the suburbs. The students had nothing to do with it. We weren't racist. Heck, one of my best friends was African American.
Oh my god. I have a black friend. You hear this, guys? We can't criticize him. He has a black friend. He played the black friend card. What can we do? Everyone knows if you have a black friend, you can't be racist.
I also lived in Mexico 4 years. So my complaint to the school committee is about DEI subcommittee. I'd like to know why I wasn't chosen.
I have to ask you to wrap up, please.
I'd like to know why I wasn't chosen. I applied. Just so happens that I'm a registered Republican.
What?
And all the selected are Democrats.
Does he think the diversity fucking program is for political views? He knows it's for, like, fucking racial background, right? I hate to break it to you, but this isn't the 1920s anymore. Italian Americans aren't exactly discriminated against right now.
Did you discriminate against my skin color, my sexual orientation, my voter affiliation?
Did you discriminate against me because I'm a white male? See, guys, it's the diversity program. And white people are kind of the majority in the country at the moment. Yes, that would be the reason, you fucking idiot.
Your next APRA request is going
If you could wrap up, sir, please.
To explain why myself and 43 applicants were not selected.
Wait, were there 43 other, like, fucking conservative white people who applied to troll the DEI program? And they want them to give individual responses to each of them as to why they didn't get in? Are you serious? Is this guy a clown or what?
I guess you don't want to hear what our thoughts are. And I attended the meeting.
Sir, your time is
Sir, your time has been up for a long time now.
Your time is
Started
up.
out with colorblind.
Someone needs to take the mic from this guy.
Your time is up, please.
I'm not done.
Sir, everyone gets the same.
I should have, you know what? I should have done this when I was criticizing Mary Brimer. When the second time when they said, hey, you need to wrap up, I shouldn't have fucking stopped and been polite the way I did. I should have kept going like this fucking lunatic did. Apparently, I could just complain, but I'm not done. I have 3 more pages to do.
Amount of time. Doesn't matter what you're saying. You get the same amount of time as everyone else.
So I guess I'm colorblind because I always referred to myself, I always looked at it as you don't
Make a motion
judge
for a
yourself-
recess.
You don't judge yourself for people by the color of their skin.
Do I have
but
a
the
second?
content of their character.
Second. All those in favor?
They call it a recess because they can't get the guy off the mic.
Any opposed?
Something that's
We are in
not-
recess. Thank you, sir.
They don't have.
Okay.
They don't
We're
have.
going to call the meeting back to order. So, just as a reminder, and I apologize, I don't care what you have to say, whether you're for, against, up, down, left, or right. We ask that everyone please limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone has an opportunity to.
They had to call a recess because he wouldn't shut the fuck up.
All the while, the school committee continues its spending spree, investing in controversial curriculum materials, which include pornography, throwing out
pornography. That one fucking genderqueer book that has a fucking dozens of other pages around non-sexual shit and has one page where it's about the person masturbating where you can't really see anything. No genitalia shown, It's like pornography, by the way. I'm sure they spent so much money on that one fucking book these people care so much about. Clearly, that's a really major item in their budget. Also, it wasn't part of the curriculum. It was just sitting in the high school library. Does this guy have any idea what he's talking about? Or did he get all his information from fucking Facebook?
A resident during your town council meeting asked you, because of the Aaron Thomas incident allegations, to create a resolution to support a bill before the General Assembly which would protect children from sexual abuse at the hands of those in a supervisory role. Mr. Mancini, part of your response was, quote, "The town council needs to stay in its lane with regards to resolutions on bills before the General Assembly." And yet, with your support, Katie Anderson has done just that with this gun violence awareness resolution. Ironically, one of the judge's recommendations was to encourage you all to work alongside our legislators to create legislation that will prevent this abuse from ever happening again.
This accusation of hypocrisy is bullshit. The proclamation that Megan Riley wanted people to make was in support of a bill being passed by the General Assembly, which isn't the town council's place to comment on, which is why Greg Mancini said that the town council should stay in their lane. Megan Riley is asserting that the resolution they were passing around Gun Safety Awareness Month was doing the same thing, but that's not true. The gun safety resolution was not commenting on any law upcoming in the General Assembly. Yes, it did have one line in the resolution say, "We call upon the General Assembly to pass legislation to assist our town in ensuring that people are safe from gun violence," but it wasn't commenting on a law that was in the process of being created by the General Assembly. These two things are not the same. The Democratic majority has not been trying to hide or trying to avoid talking about the Aaron Thomas sexual abuse scandal. Also, it's worth commenting on, this lady is a Mary Brimer supporter, so she's targeting her criticism specifically at the Democratic majority on the town council because she wants them unseated. The Republican town council people, Kerry McKay and Mary Brimer, could have very easily drafted a town resolution to address sexual harassment, but they didn't do that. And the reason why they don't do that is because it's not about passing a resolution or not passing a resolution for these people. It's all about trying to paint the Democratic town council people they don't like in as dishonest a light as possible. Same story for when Megan Riley says, "Oh, you did Gun Awareness Month, why won't you do Sexual Abuse Awareness Month?" If the Republicans wanted that, Mary Brimer and Kerry McKay could have put forth a proposal themselves to do that on the town level, but they didn't. And the reason why is because they don't actually care about this. It's a convenient issue on which they can attack their opposition, which is currently in the majority. Anyway, on the aside, I've heard some things about this lady being a crazy fundamentalist person who believes that all of her political opposition is unironically like secret demons or something. I'm not even going to get into it all right now. The person's a little unhinged.
And it really seems like political theater and an effort to distract us from the many ways in which our administrators and elected officials have failed to keep our children safe. When will the leaders in this town stop trying to minimize and be willfully blind to all of these sexual abuse allegations and accept that major mistakes were made?
Okay, this part is complete bullshit. No one is distracting from or being willfully blind to or minimizing anything that happened around the Aaron Thomas scandal. And I didn't know this before watching this video, and it makes me really mad. But the Greg Mancini guy was originally in favor of having the McGuirl judge do a review when the Mary Brimer person that this lady supports wasn't. They asked McGuirl to do a review on top of all of the investigations from other agencies, to have her do a review of those investigations as well, to give them information on what went wrong. Everyone cares about this. Everyone has been looking into this. This is no longer some big secret that no one's talking about. People are trying to sweep under the rug. People are all actively looking into this. The report just came out today. This lady's acting like she's upset in the beginning of this speech that they didn't give her enough time to read it. They just got it today. They didn't have time to read it. They didn't have time to send it out. This lady has no concept of what's going on.
According to the judge, when a school fails, they lost the trust of the community they serve.
Of course, she doesn't include the part where the judge also credited the school department for changes that it already made, including requiring that the athletic director report directly to the superintendent of schools, who of course reports to the school committee. But that's besides the point. Of course, she's not going to leave that part in because it's kind of inconvenient for the point she's making. Not that that doesn't mean that the Aaron Thomas stuff wasn't really fucked up, but another problem is that the main thing that happened was no one reported that anything bad was going on for so long. And while it is really, really fucked up that some of the school officials did not make public the allegations around Aaron Thomas before he left and tried to apply to another school, I don't think the school committee or the town council are to blame for that. The superintendent at the time has already resigned.
Our special business, and the first item is going to be to receive and file Judge McGuirl's report. It was handed out today. Although the school committee did hire their own outside counsel, I did advocate for hiring Judge McGuirl because I thought our community truly needed an independent body to hire its own independent.
You guys are all attacking him as if like he's fucking. They're trying to hide this report. They won't talk about this report. He's talking about it now. He was in favor of it. He was in favor of the judge doing the review.
Counsel. And we had charged her not with reviewing or doing an independent investigation. We charged her with doing a review of ongoing investigations. Based on my review of her report, I do believe the community has an accurate depiction of the facts that is from a truly independent source. To her credit, the judge did more than just review factual findings. She took the initiative to supplement what was done by meeting with over 50 individuals, as well as educating herself on athletic testing best practices. And she did this all at no additional cost to the taxpayers. For the report itself, I believe the judge thoroughly goes through the history of what happened, compares Coach Thomas's testing to best practices or lack thereof, discusses our community's failures, and reaches and makes a number of recommendations to prevent similar incidences from like this happening in the future. Some of which, it's my understanding, the school department has implemented. What astonished me is she found no information that indicates that any student ever reported fat testing to a teacher, coach, or administrator. Sadly, based on what I know, I can also add parent to that list. It's important to note that Judge McGuirl also said that the actions happened are a reflection of a very small number of individuals, and that the vast majority of staff and faculty provide exceptional services to the students, as shown by our higher rankings the district continues to get in national outlets. I conclude here tonight that our community owes Judge McGuirl a debt of gratitude for her effort in producing this report. Now, what's next? Unfortunately, our council's jurisdiction over what schools do is limited to allocating a line item in the budget. We have no other control. But nevertheless, the community does know what happened. Although I certainly want to hear from others on the council, and I have not talked to them about this issue, I would like to recommend tonight that this body votes to send this report to the school committee and ask them for a formal response on her recommendations.
That's what Megan Riley wanted all along. She went up to harangue these guys to ask the school committee for a response. They already had asked. Now they're going to formally send the report to them. Is Megan Riley going to be happy now, or is she still going to sit there and accuse the Democratic officials of enabling Aaron Thomas's horrible sexual harassment of students? Which one is it going to be? Because I think I know the answer.
Having said that, I don't know if a member of the town council has something to add. So with that, I'll defer to everyone here.
So we have a situation that was allowed to proceed for 20 years. And no one said anything to anybody. If only one thing comes out of this occasion tonight, and I don't know why this has never happened before, because everywhere you go today, there have to be 2 adults present whenever you have a junior or minor in a room with you.
That's a pretty good rule, actually. We did that when we worked at like summer camps as camp counselors, at like the YMCA and shit.
There are so many failures that have taken place with this report that it's hard to point the finger of blame and say, yeah, that guy's to blame, that guy's to blame, that guy's to blame. It appears to me as the healing is going to take place if we have some solutions to the problems. Because the problems, they happened. And again, I'm as astonished as you are, Mr. President. Single child, parent, ever said anything to anybody, even though some of the parents had to sign off on these memorandums.
The parents didn't think anything sketchy was going on, and the kids never said anything to them.
And I cannot, for the life of me, understand that when you have a room, they let the person take all of the information out of the school system without having any oversight. We have police reports. We have FBI. We have Department of Justice. We have a lot of people looking at this, but we have no concrete evidence that any crime was ever committed. Now, civilly, maybe, but crime, we're not sure about. So here we are sitting, making judgment on an individual that by all standards in our community was a well-respected, well-liked teacher by his students and the staff.
Wait, is he like coming out and defending Aaron Thomas? I wasn't ready for this. Is he saying Aaron Thomas did no wrong? I am lost. Hey, just in case you didn't know, I went to North Kingstown. I had Aaron Thomas as a teacher. Well, he probably talked to me about the fat test stuff. I had like a partner in my fucking class who would hint to me that he was really creepy, that I shouldn't be in the room with him, but I never understood what he meant, and I didn't know if he was being serious or not at the time, and now I know. I guess that's not proof of anything, but this guy sounds like he's coming out defending Aaron Thomas, saying he did no wrong. I think that's a very, very unlikely scenario.
And a lot of people's lives got ruined by this whole thing. So what do? One thing is, first and foremost, there is never, ever, ever in this community to be allowed to have one single teacher with one single student alone in a room ever again.
Based.
Okay? And I've read Judge McGuirl's report 3 times. There are a lot of things, the training goes on, the other engagements, the retraining, the coaches are going to have to now take special training. I don't know if anybody's ever going to want to work as a coach again, because they're going to be micromanaged under a microscope from this day forward.
Which is a good thing, right?
What do? Right now?
Wait, is he against that micromanaging? Now I'm confused. He said something that was based. Now he's I'm kind of losing track of what his position is on this.
So, Kerry, there's a lot to digest. My suggestion is the judge had issued a number of recommendations. I would like to get the school committee's input and then see what they say, and I think we have an obligation to make sure that these recommendations are implemented.
I understand, but going further with this, right, this just proves to me,
okay,
that
here we
this
go.
council and councils around the state have been locked out of the school departments' budgets and discussion of how the schools are run. Who did that? RIDE? The unions? I have no idea. That's a question that needs to be asked, because it's only through this community's engagement and the pushing forward of all this that these solutions are going to come to the forefront. That we need to be involved as a community, not bureaucrats, not administrators, but people in the community. Parents need to sit on boards and commissions. They need to find out what's going on. Parents need to be able to walk through the school and see what's happening in the class.
Walk through the school? No, that's not the solution. The solution isn't have parents walk through the fucking classrooms.
You can't have special closets where a person can take another person into a closet and let them change into the clothes they want after they've come to school. I got a report the other day. A young man at the high school goes to the bathroom, followed into the bathroom by a young lady. who sits on the sink and watches him. Okay? Now, how the hell in this world does that allow to happen? Okay? And it's still going on. And they've passed laws to let this happen. More laws to let this happen.
To let this happen? What laws did they pass to let this happen, McKay?
What are we going to do here? We have to do something.
Can you reference the laws, please? There's a reason why you're not going into details about what laws you're referring to. It's because they don't exist. I would love to hear him talk about this more.
And I think needs to be follow-up with the administration. Does a single administrator, teacher, psychologist, psychiatrist sit in a room with one individual by themselves?
You're going to have to hire a lot more staff at the schools then. Every fucking classroom where there's the one teacher there, now there's two. Every psychiatrist or guidance counselor who meets with the student, now there's two. Like, it sounds pretty based giving stuff that's gone on, but I hope he realizes that's going to be like a lot more money hiring people.
Just adding to Kerry's comments about making sure this never happens again, I have to say, reading this report, I was sickened. And I think we need to acknowledge the seriousness of what is before us and the process that it will take. The judge in her report over and over again used the term normalize, that a culture, a system was allowed to flourish where this sort of misconduct was normalized. We have our work cut out for us in this body, with the school committee, as a community, to make sure that these sort of behaviors are never normalized again. You are absolutely right. Boundaries and ethics trainings must play a part in that. In my role as a clinician, boundaries and ethics trainings are required. They are required annually, not just because everyone will follow those rules, but because you learn if you see something, you have to say something. That culture has to be normal in institutions throughout this town where our children are involved.
I'm going to write a summary of my impression of this report. It's pretty intense. It's 120 pages. It takes a good 2 hours to get through. And then it takes a lot of thought and going back and looking back at it. So I'm going to write up a summary of my thoughts and reading it after, and I'll have that published on the nkrepublicans.org website if anybody wants.
Wait, so she has comments, but she's only going to post them to the NK Republicans website? She's not going to say them here? Why is that exactly?
To go read it, or if you want to be on our distribution list, you can sign up.
I'll pass on that, Chief. If you have something to say it here. I'm not going to your fucking website to hear you give your opinion on this. No, thank you. I'm all set with that. I buckled and I went to read this. Basically, I assume that this is her statement. This is the only thing I found on this website referencing McGuirl report. So this whole piece is attacking the Tom Briotti guy running for school committee because he's a criminal defense lawyer who will sometimes defend people accused of sexual harassment and sexual molestation. Then just talks about the fact that there was sexual harassment going on with Aaron Thomas. Doesn't really talk about the McGuirl report in depth, other than to reference the failings of the NKSD for allowing the fat testing to happen in the first place. Doesn't really go into the rest of the report in the way that the other council people did. And then randomly starts talking about the fucking genderqueer book from the high school library, trying to make it sound like the two are fucking related in some way. And then also attacking Mr. Briotti for having his pronouns in his bio, basically, which is really stupid. So you weren't missing anything that deep. You weren't missing any deep commentary from this writing piece.
Back in early December, our first December meeting, I recommended to this council that we freeze a portion of the school surplus to be available to settle out any claims, and I did not have the support. I'd like a fund to compensate for counseling, to pay for counseling for anybody that would like to come forward and receive counseling that were victimized by this. That should be funded from that. We're so obsessed with diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a very noble goal. However, Coach Kayla Schulter was not treated with equity. And if you want to get me going, try to not pay a female a fair rate of pay. for the same amount of work as a man.
All right, if she's going to pretend to be a feminist here, does she have a problem with her fiancé going and haranguing the two Democratic women on the town council, saying that they're being controlled by the man, Greg Mancini, or does she not care about that? She doesn't strike me as a feminist. Also, in this same meeting, she goes on to say, without evidence, that women are more often the perpetrators of violence instead of men, which was a really strange thing to say.
So Kayla Shelter needs to be made whole. One of the suggestions by Judge McGuirl was that there's proposed legislation that goes forward. I'd like to give a shout out to North Kingstown's Representative Julie Casimiro for Bill number H8230, which will hold a person in a position of authority over a child to a higher standard than state law currently does. That is in right now. It will explain. I did not vote for Judge McGuirl to do this investigation, but I do have to thank her for what she produced.
Why not?
It helps explain.
Wait, are you serious? So because the reason why this is so annoying, in case you don't know why I'm acting so indignant, is because the supporters of this lady harass and harangue, I shouldn't say harass, it's a little bit of an exaggeration. Well, actually they do harass. Harangue these three Democrats on the town council for not being more open about the McGuirl report, not talking enough about the McGuirl report. And yet these people actually asked for the McGuirl report to happen in the first place, and she didn't even vote for it at the time herself? What world are we living in? My brain just got fried. Ask Megan Riley about that hypocrisy, dude. What the fuck? Are you serious?
So it did make me a little sick to read that this went on when I sat on the school committee and we didn't know. I think when I think about my time on the school committee, one of the things that was very glaring was the animosity and the lack of working together between the school committee and the town council. We had a lot of budget fights due to this being a time where the economy wasn't good and we were level funded. And so one of the things that we did as a school committee is we cut a lot of professional staff. We cut our human resources person, and then we elevated a person who had been working under them. We cut some of the staff that we had at the high school. We cut the athletic director, and then we had somebody come in part-time. My point being is that perhaps if we had had full-time professionals who were adequately trained in these positions, we could have spotted some of this. But we didn't have the money because we had been cut by the town council. Now, I know that sounds like I'm finger pointing, and I don't want to finger point. This is a community problem, and we need to come together in this report and solve this problem as a community. And so what I don't want is to sit here and start saying again that we're going to cut this for the schools and they need to do this with this and that with their money. We need to come together as a community and decide how we all will solve this problem, both town council and school committee together.
Why do you want to freeze the school's budget if you want them to address this issue? They're talking about, freeze the surplus to settle. What if they need to spend money to, address these problems? You don't want them to have the money to do that? This is based. I like this lady.
So, yes, I would be fine with meeting with the school committee, but I do want this to be an issue that we all solve together and not just sit here and blame and look and say, you school committee have done awful things. We need to solve this as a community problem, and that's where I would like to go from here. Taking the recommendations, the judge's report, when people read it, they'll find that her recommendations are very good, and we need to move forward and follow them as a community.
Thank you.
Okay, so for those of you following, these three people very much in favor of Judge McGuirl's recommendations. She did not initially vote for McGuirl to do the review at all. He was in favor of her to do it in the first place. And this guy keeps saying, well, there's no real proof that Aaron Thomas did anything, but we should still change school policy. So, in case you want a rundown of these people and their responses to the Aaron Thomas scandal, that's it. It's a little odd how that Megan Riley woman keeps lambasting these three over the Aaron Thomas issue instead of lambasting these two. Why isn't Megan Riley targeting this guy and saying, how dare you say there's no evidence that horrible stuff has happened? Why doesn't she give Mary Brimer any shit for not initially recommending that McGuirl do the review in the first place? It's very odd. It's almost like there's a motivated reasoning.
Let's vote to receive this and vote to forward it to the school committee and ask them to respond to the recommendations and other actions that they have done to protect our students. In terms of some sort of joint arrangement, I am open to that.